Hey, what's up, everybody? So, there's some things I want to go over on Blender. I already made a how to download video, and what I want to do is I want to go into a little bit more depth. I want to create a little something that can be printed out in the future, and I'm kind of trying to make a series of this because printing's cool and all, but this is where it starts. This is where all the magic happens, and this is where all the good stuff of 3D printing is. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. First, you need to make sure that your preferences are all done. My preferences are all done. And I'm going to show you how to do something real quick that's going to be pretty informational. Alright, so when I go into Blender, I have all these scenes, right? Let me get an object up here first. So I'm going to hit Shift A, go to Mesh, and then I'm going to put in a cube. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my scene properties, then I'm going to go into my units property in the scenes. And it's unit system metric. You're not going to need to change that, but you're going to need to change the unit scale to 0.001. Then you're going to want to change meters into millimeters. This is more precise build right here. This allows you to create things in millimeters and instead of meters, which is really useful because all 3D printers read in millimeters. You can change them to where they can read centimeters, inches, etc., or even meters, but for the most part, and by default, they read millimeters. All right, so after you get all this done over here, you go into your overlay and you go to scale and you go to 0.001, enter. Then you'll notice that your grid is back here and where it should be because it's now reading your grid in millimeters. Then what needs to happen is you need to go into this pull-out tab and go to view. Then you need to go to the end. This is your view as in how far you can zoom out. This is only right now at 1,000, and you're going to want to put it at either 10,000 or 100,000. I prefer 100,000. That way, when I zoom out, it takes a while before the screen starts to cut out and do that. Alright, so now what I'm going to show is just some basic general knowledge to how to work Blender, and it's really all you need to know to make shapes. So I'm going to take this square, and what I'm looking to create is I'm looking to create like a little table or something. So I'm going to take this square and I'm going to keep this open. I'm going to go to my items. Now it's going to have transformation, scale, rotation, dimensions, location. You're going to work in your dimensions. Now this green is y-axis and this red is x-axis. I normally like to have my x-axis horizontal and my y vertical. And then the true vertical is your x, which is up and down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my z, and because 2 millimeters is nothing, 2 millimeters is like yay big, I'm not going to do that because when it comes out into print, it could break, it could be unstable, you know, can't really put anything on it. Now this is just going to be a miniature, it's going to be no bigger than 5 inches, okay? So I'm going to take this, I'm going to do 55, enter, and then I'm going to take my y. I want my y to be pretty big, so I'm going to do 80, and there it is. It's my y. I want my x to be to give some length to this table, which if you're wondering how you rotate, it's the middle button, you click it in, you rotate it like this. You can hit shift and then you can move across the screen up and down, etc. But this is how you orbit. So now I got to give this table some width, and maybe I should turn this down. Maybe I should turn it to 25. There we go. And then my X is going to be 55. Alright, there we go. Now I know how it looks in the program. It looks like it's going to be way too chunky, right? It's not. Don't worry about it. Trust me. It looks really funky going in, but if you want something sturdy and done right, it's the way to go. Now I can change this down though to make it look a little better. Here we go, 15. 15 millimeters is going to give you a good thickness, to be honest. So now that we have that done, what I can do is I can right click here, or shift right click, and then I'm going to add another cube. I'm going to scale it out. Really all you need to do when you have a table, so you have something like a base of your object, you can scale whatever you want everything else to be according to the base, which would be the main part of it, which would be also the biggest part of it. The biggest part of a table is obviously the tabletop. So legs don't really matter like that. You hit SZ to scale. Then I'm going to drag it over by hitting GX. Now I want this to line up, so I'm going to hit GY. I'm going to line this up. And then I'm going to hit GZ to bring it down. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Shift D, Y, bring it over. Shift D, X, bring it over. Rotate. Shift D, Y, bring it over. And there is a little simple table. You can do so much more designs. You don't really need to color it even. I mean, you can color it if you would like, but in all reality, you just don't need to do that because you're going to be 3D printing whatever color your filament is or whatever style your filament is. So say it's graphene, say it's wood, say it's rainbow, it's going to come out those. Say it's glow in the dark, it's going to come out glow in the dark. You know, say it's black, blue, any color of the rainbow, it's going to come out that color. Alright. Now, if you have a big printer, say you're a beginner and you have a big printer and you do want things to be colored a certain way and you're able to attach multiple spools and have multiple spools running into your 3D printer, then at that point you can color it and do that for it. Otherwise, you don't need to, because that's going to become an issue of you feeling like, you know, you wasted all this time coloring it, even though coloring doesn't necessarily take a whole lot of time. But say you have 15 minutes to create something before you have to go somewhere, but you really need to get some work done, that way you feel accomplished before you go. You just don't color it in. Just create it and then accept it. Really. It's the best thing to do, just to keep, you know, like your peace of mind and everything. Because what I find a lot of times when I'm working, which I work from home, a lot of times when I find out what I find out when I work is that I do little things that I like to do, but I end up regretting it because it's like, wow, I could have spent that time collected. Because say you have 5 models that you have to color, right? And it takes you a minute a piece. That's 5 whole minutes you could have created something else. You know what I'm saying? So, especially since coloring is not needed, that wouldn't be as efficient. Now what I can do is I can go like that, make sure everything's all linked in, and then I hit Control J to truly link this. Now this is one object. So with that being said, let's create some more stuff. Now you can, which I'm just going to create like a few home accessories. So what I'm going to do is Shift right click, Shift A, and then I'm going to create a now I'm going to get a cylinder, because what I can do is I can scale this out by clicking S, pulling it to the size I would like, GY to move it over just a little bit. Then I hit SZ, scale it down. Then what I want to do is I want to hit Tab, and I want to go into my surface select, and I want to click Shift, Alt, and then click this side. Hit Control B, pull away from your object, and now it'll have some dimension to it. Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control B, and pull out just a little bit, because I don't want those, there we go. I want it to look rounded, but I don't want it to have those little like slits in it, because I'm not trying to create a screw, I'm not trying to create like some type of washer, so it's like there's no point. GX to move it back a little bit, GZ to bring it down. Alright, now I'm going to hit Shift, right click on top of here, Shift A, I'm going to grab another cylinder. Then what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to GX. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to go to the top view, because this is going to help. So GX, GY. This helps you be more legit with your work, basically. SZ. Now I'm noticing that mine is a little off, so I'm going to go GY. Right there. That's pretty darn centered. And it'll work. Alright, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this object, I'm going to go into tab. Now, what this mode is called edit mode. It'll allow you to transform your objects and do everything that you need. Over here, it has the cursor, it has move, it has rotate, it has scale, it has transform, it has annotate, which is like just to like mark where everything is. It has the measurement tool where you can measure and do all kinds of stuff that will give you your measurements that you need to write down, I'm sure. This is make a line. It'll connect split faces. This is an add a cube. This is extrude region. This is inset face. This is bevel. Loop cut, knife, poly build, spin, smooth, edge slide, shrink or flatten, sorry, shear, and rip region. There's many other modes, so you can go into here. There's object mode, which is the original mode. There's edit mode, which is what we're in now. There's a scoped mode where you can create characters and create animals and all kinds of stuff. So say you wanted to create your own version of a bear, or some type of mutated bear, or some type of bear with some really cool technology. You go into scope mode, you create your bear. You can create your technology in edit mode or object mode. And you can do, you can create some really cool stuff. There's vertex paint, which is vertice paint. You paint by vertices. There's weight paint, which you can basically have. There's an edit mode for it, which means that you can hit C and color it, and then it'll highlight the region of faces you would like to color. And then when you get out of C and you get out of the edit mode that's in weight paint, it'll give the paint for that area. Then you have textured paint, which it is very self-explanatory. It is paint that has a texture to it. Alright, so now let's get this going. So I'm going to hit E. I'm going to extrude this. I'm going to hit GX. I'm going to move it. I'm going to hit E, extrude this. Now I'm going to hit RY, rotate this. Now I'm going to hit G, X, move that. And what I want to do is hit rotate Y, extrude, rotate Y, extrude, rotate Y, extrude, rotate Y, extrude, and there we go. Now what I can do with this is make a little desk lamp, which now I'm going to need to extrude again, but straight down, and then I'm going to go in. I'm going to click this. Now I'm going to hit Shift Alt, click that, and then I'm going to hit S to space it. As a matter of fact, I'm going to hit Control R, and I'm going to create a loop here. But right there, Control R, and create a loop here. Now I'm going to go back into my face select mode. I'm going to click that, Shift Alt, and click the one right next to it. So it lights that up. Then I'm going to hit size. Then I'm going to go down to the bottom here. Click that face. I'm going to hit I to inset it just a little bit. Then what I need to do is I need to hit GZ. Bring that up. Then I'm going to hit extrude so it creates another one. Now I'm going to hit Control B. All right there. Click that face, hit Control B. Click that face, hit Control B. I'm going to tab out of that. And there you have a little reading light. Now the cool thing about these lamps, so like you can make all kinds of lamps. You can make a dragon lamp, you can make a bear lamp, you can make a turtle lamp with there's eyes that are the lights. You can do all kinds of stuff. What you will need to do is path that into your design. So what I'm going to show you is I'm going to create a shape, and I'm going to show you how to be able to do so, to be able to wire or string through wires into your object to be able to make a lamp. So with that being said, I'm going to click Shift right click here, Shift A. I'm going to go ahead and go into Cube. Excuse me. I'm going to scale that out. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually bring this back. So GX, GZ. Alright, so if I want something to go straight through this, right, I need another object because there's something that has to be cut out of it, correct? Yep. And I'm going to choose a cylinder because normally when you're doing wires and stuff like that, you just, you use a cylinder shape. Yeah, it's kind of 101. I'm going to rotate this along the x-axis 90 degrees. Enter. And you can tap it on your number keypad. That's the cool thing about Blender is a lot of the keys do a lot of help with whatever you're doing in this program. Henceforth, that's the reason why there's hotkeys. Now I'm going to take this and hit S, Y, bring it out, and then I'm going to take GY, bring it over, GX to bring it back through the object. Now this is the cool part. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this square, and I need to go over to the modifiers tab, add modifier. I need to hit Boolean. Now this Boolean is going to ask me what am I trying to cut out of it. So if you really want to know what this shape is, you can click here and look over here, and it'll tell you which one it is. So it's cylinder 2. Go back to this, go into object, because this is letting it know this is letting the modifier know what object you want cut out of what. So cylinder 2. Apply, Now it should work. Sometimes you have to do it in reverse, but nope, it worked. See that you could string wires through there. You can do whatever you need to. And let's say you want it to be upright, right? So you need wires to be coming in from both sides, right? Or say you're trying to make a plug. You bring this straight down all the way through. Excuse me, allergies are really affecting me today. You go back to the square, you add another modifier, it's going to be Boolean, and you hit cylinder 2. Make sure when you're done doing this, you click this little arrow down. If it doesn't say apply right up here, because sometimes it will, if it doesn't say that, go to this little drop down arrow, hit apply, and now this is applied. Without doing so, it's not going to do this. It's not going to create the holes, and you're just having a modifier, a pre-modifier. That's what it is, a pre-modifier. It's not modifying anything. It's pre-modifying that way. It's just getting the information to be able to do the command. Now you have where you could bring it from. Now you have it to where you can bring it from the bottom, you can bring it from the top, you can bring it from side to side. And this is really useful, you know. This is absolutely useful. And you can even create screws and stuff like that, right? On here. This isn't animation software, but this thing works amazingly for people who are 3D printists and have work that they need done. And you know, this is the best. This is honestly, in my opinion, the best app. It's my favorite software to use. But that's just in my opinion. Some other people, you know, say Fusion is better. I don't really think so. But that's just my opinion. I love Fusion. I use Fusion. It's great for mechanics, especially if you're engineering for mechanics. That is the greatest program you can use when it comes to like building cars, building something out of metal. Like it has everything you need for that. If you have a CNC machine, you're trying to cut wood or metal or you know rock quartz, whatever it is you're trying to cut, that would be the perfect program because it actually asks you what kind of material are you using, and then you choose and it goes from there. With Blender, it doesn't ask you what material, it's just mesh. You bring anything else in here and it's not a mesh, you have to go to object and go down here to convert to, and then you have to hit mesh, and then you will be able to work on the object. Otherwise, if it's not in mesh form, Blender doesn't quite read it at all. It'll pop up, but you won't be able to do anything to it. It's kind of like with Fusion. If you add in Fusion 360, if you add a mesh, you can look at it, you can load it, and it'd be on your building plane, but you won't be able to do anything to it. It's kind of funny because whatever you can't edit in Blender, you can edit in Fusion, and whatever you can't edit in Fusion, you can edit in Blender. Now I'm going to go into a little bit more of the technicalities here. So this is right here, this button is your materials property, which really entitles your metallic feature, your roughness, and all of that, your emission, your transmission, your IOR, your clear coats, your sheens, and stuff like that, right? So here's the thing. Right here, and also this gives you how much amount of subsurface color would you like to actually be shown. But this is your base color, and it has all these colors right here that you can choose from, and then you can go down into here, and if you go to your materials property, you'll be able to see that it colors things. I actually like to work in material property a lot better than I do solid mode. Solid mode actually is a really good mode for getting things, getting things precise. Because what it is that it's giving it to you raw. Like this is the raw form, so you'll be able to measure it precisely, you know, edit accurately, and the greatest thing about that is when you go to color it, the object looks nice and it looks more, you know, professional work. Now this all doesn't look professional. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying you will see the difference in work from if you were to work in material preview, which is giving you a highlighted version of it, or a SolidWorks, which is giving you the raw, uncut, unfiltered view of what you are building, which makes a lot more accuracy, a lot more efficiency, and a lot more of a wow or a pop from your item for when you do bring it into color. And I won't get into that because those you don't need to know. Basically, all you need to know is for beginning is the modifier, the scene property, the material property, and you need to know this one, the render properties. So with the render properties, you have your render engine, which is what kind of engine are you using? Do you want to use Eevee? Do you want to use the workbench? Do you want to use cycles? I would use the workbench if you're doing stuff like this. I only showed you an Eevee because sometimes the workbench is a little too technical for beginners. But once you get into everything and you start feeling more comfortable with your program, then go ahead and go into a workbench. Go ahead and go on a workbench. It won't hurt. It really won't. So there's a studio version, right? Then you can go into MatCap. MatCap is more like a clay version, kind of translucent a little bit. And you can go into here and you can click all kinds of different textures or different, overlays that you would like for it, or layers. Now, the common use is this one right here. But if I was to go here, it kind of gives it a more pearl scent when I go to render. It'll make everything black. Now, this lighting property can color your designs, because this is like no color to it. The only thing that has color to it is this block. It has a green color to it. I can click on this orange and the lighting will color my stuff orange. I can click on this and it'll make everything look really metallic. Now this is really good for, if you're building a screwdriver and you want the metal part to look really shiny and stuff like that. This is really good for if you're working with pipe work and you need pipes made and you're making pipes. You just make a cylinder like this guy right here, and you put a hole through them. And what you can do, as a matter of fact, I'll create one real quick just to give a good example. I'm gonna hit Shift D. I'm gonna hit right click, then I'm gonna scale it, and I'm gonna CZ or SZ. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a modifier. I'm going to do Boolean, and I'm going to do cylinder 2, apply. Now I'm going to click on the cylinder 2, GZ, bring it all the way up. There you go. So there's a pipe, and I can rotate this, rotate along the Y 90 degrees, and you can see right through that. You can see right through that. So that's good for creating pipes, and this is a really good color for the pipes. Now you have stuff like cavity, which is more of like a full. It actually gives it more of like it's really like a density, if you will. And you have the depth of field, which is just like it has a little to do with like how far of the reflection comes off of your object, or how far away it seems from the camera, and like it has a lot to do with all that. It's in a viewport. So going back to MatCap, I'm going to go ahead and go through a few of these. This is like a zebra kind of color, and as you can see, it changes, and that's because it's the light. It's the lighting that is doing that. Now, here's the thing. You can go over here to the viewport shading, click this down. As a matter of fact, I think it's only in material preview. Yep, material preview. You can choose MatCap, and you can do all this in material preview. The only difference is that when you do for render, when you do it for render, you do it over here. When you do it for material preview, you do it right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and go through a few more of these. Now this is like, it adds like a little shadowy texture. It's a little ominous.